So I was just showing some properties to some clients, and the question was, how do you know if a floor is installed correctly? So I created this little mock-up to give you an example of how to find out if a floor is installed correctly. So this mat represents the insulation that should be on the bottom of the floor. And you can see in this case, this is the baseboard of the property and this is the actual flooring. So when you're looking at this property, basically what they did was they put the wood all the way up against the ceiling of the floor here. They didn't quite cut the baseboards perfectly. They filled in the gaps with some sealant around the edges. The problem with this is sometimes that if the boards are all the way like this, it looks nicer, but the problem is you need to allow some space for the boards to expand. Otherwise, you'll get a bending or warping effect, which I don't know if you see in properties, but I do see that often, and it kind of bends up and bubbles. So you have to make sure you allow some room for the boards to expand. So what you need to do is say if this is the baseboard, and if you have a little gap on the edge like that with a sealant sticking out, you would take a piece of trim and put that over the edge there to cover that. That's one way to do it. The other option is you would cut off the bottom section of the sheetrock right there, or you would have to remove the baseboards and install the floor kind of like this, so the baseboards, so the wood has room to expand underneath the boards to avoid the warping effect. And obviously that costs more because you have to remove the baseboards and put new baseboards on. So what you'll see a lot of people do is something like this. And if they don't cut the boards perfectly, you'll see this trim around the edges. So that's something to keep an eye out for when you're looking at property. Look along the edges for a trim like this. It probably means that they just put the floor along the board right here and allowed a little bit of room on the edge for the floor to expand. And that's cheaper than doing it this way, which is removing the baseboard and putting the baseboard basically kind of on top or just along the edge right there, allowing it to expand underneath the baseboard, or cutting off a bottom section of the baseboard. This is a very quick explanation on how you know if a floor is installed correctly or properly or professionally, and things to watch out for when you're looking at that, especially when you're going into a property and looking at places where they've done it very fast to get it ready to go on the market. These are the things that I look out for.